Hello, everybody. How are you doing today? My name is Tony Rizzano, and before we get started on today's episode, I want to say go to the platform wherever you listen to podcasts, however you get podcasts. I want you to go. I want you to subscribe, so that way you can get the daily shows, the bonus episodes. You'll be the first one to receive all this goodness that we have to offer. Also, go to the same place and give us 5 stars, because we all know you love this podcast, all right? Once again, thanks in advance. Hello, everybody. How are you doing today? My name is Tony Rizzano, and welcome to Online Marketing Moves. This is episode 14 of the newly titled, highly rated, best podcast in the universe podcast. We are coming to you live today from the great state of North Carolina. We are headed to Charlotte, I believe. We are on the great I-85. North Carolina is not a bad state, I must say. North Carolina is a pretty nice state. I would like to drive here in my own personal time, not in the truck. But, we will get there. We will get there. But anyway, today we are going to talk about 2 different subjects. The first subject we will talk about today is putting love into your business. Now, what do I mean? I mean, yesterday, I took a shower, I washed my hair, I use a product. I use a product called Carol's Daughter. Now, I was reading the bottle, and I said, this is very true. On the bottle, it says, made with love. Love is our first ingredient. And it says, the scented recipe is blended with everything your hair will love and nothing it won't. Now, I thought about this because I had a conversation with my wife last week. We talked about her. We talked about her opening up a restaurant. She said the hardest thing, opening up a restaurant would be, she said, I love cooking, so that part would not be a problem. She said, just coming in every day early, and having to be consistent with that is something that she doesn't know that she could do. But she said the most important thing about cooking, she said, of course, you can get passionate about cooking, but you want to put, I said, this is very true, because you put love, when people have a recipe, like, I can make one great dish. I make beef stew. I've learned how to make beef stew. I've perfected it. I've got it down pat. But the most important thing I put in the beef stew is the love. The love I have for making a beef stew makes it even better, because I just know that it's going to be great. And I get up. I love making beef stew. I put hard work into it. I put passion. I put love into the beef stew. And I put love into the cornbread I make. So those are my 2 things that I know I can make. And my wife, she says she loves to cook, and you can tell certain dishes she makes, and she really puts love into it. She puts passion into it, and that's very true about anything. It's not that you have to love. You're not going to start off. You start off a relationship with somebody. You don't love them from the word go. You develop a passion for the person. You develop feelings for the person, and you develop love for the person. So that's what I mean. And when you get started with an online business, or when you get started with whatever you do, I'm not saying that, because a lot of people get this wrong. A lot of people say you have to love what you're doing. Do you? No, you don't have to start off necessarily be in love with what you're doing. You develop you can develop a passion for it. It's just like when I started truck driving. I started driving trucks. It wasn't out of love. It wasn't out of a passion to be driving down the highway. It was out of necessity. I needed the job. I needed a new career. I needed something else to do. I needed something that would get me out of the place I was at in my life. I wasn't satisfied. So truck driving, I started it, and eventually I developed a passion for it. I gained a love of driving trucks, you know. But it wasn't love at first sight, if you know what I'm saying. And that's with anything. It's just like when I first got started, and I was like, I'm going to create this online thing. I'm going to get a business. I'm going to make things happen. It was something that I was like, okay, I'm going to get into it, you know. And as time has moved on, and I've started to get more and more, you know, more success, more things going, I've developed a passion. I have a love now, a bigger love for, you know, creating a business, doing something that I love, because I want to be self-employed. So this is just like doing this podcast and writing emails and writing blog posts. It is I put love into all this now. There's a love, there's a passion, there's a fire that I have when it comes to doing all this stuff. And that's the same, it can be the same for you. You don't have to start off necessarily love something, but once you keep doing it, you put effort into it, you put time into it, the love will be there. And the more love you put into something, the better the result. It's just like a relationship. I first met my wife. Of course, for me, it was love at first sight, but maybe not for her. But I love her more now than I ever had before. And I love her more with every passing day. And the love I have for her makes me want to put out more of an effort. And when it comes to any and everything in our relationship, it's more, when you come from a place of love, it's amazing how things can work. It's amazing how you can grow something when you just keep putting more and more love into it. It's just like when you have a child. We all, I can't speak for everybody, but I know me, when I was in my 20s, having children, I never gave that much of a thought at all. And people would always tell me, you know, when you're going to have kids? I'm like, come on, bro, I'm 20-something. And they're like, you know, blah, 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 blah. They all talk to you about kids and everything. It's like, that's great for you, but it's not for me right now, you know. But now I'm at the age where I am ready to receive love from a child. I am ready to give love from a child. And to me, this is the perfect time for me and my wife to, you know, have a baby, because we have a lot of love that we are ready to give a child. So it's, you know, back in my 20s, I would have developed a love, of course, for the child, but it might not have been as well received, you know. It definitely wouldn't have been as well received as it will be now, you know. So whenever you're doing something, just remember, because we all fall into the trap of going through the motions. But always remember, and even like, of course, as you well know, if you listen to this podcast enough, I am going away from the truck driving. I am not going away. I am leaving this field, and I'm going to be self-employed. I'm going to be working for myself, and I will be home every day working from my house. But that doesn't, and sometimes I had to catch myself, because some days I'm just like, all right, let me get this over with. But I had to remind myself, hey, you know, I might not, I still love driving. I love making deliveries and everything like that. So I can't just, you know, kind of poo-poo on the truck driving. Truck driving was good. It was good to me. It was good for me. At the time, it was right for me at the time in my life, but now it's not. Now in this time of my life, I'm ready to move on. I'm ready to move forward. So that doesn't mean I go through the motions and I poo-poo on the driving or I poo-poo on my job. No, don't do that. It's like I talked to my brother the other day. My brother, he changed jobs. He got he got a raise at the place he just started at. And then he was talking about the old job, and he said, "You know what? I'm not gonna badmouth them. They treated me good for the time I was there. I got no problem with them. I just had to move forward. I got me a job. I'm going to work here for the next how of course he said if it all works out, I'll work there until I retire, and then that'll be it. So it's sort of like that. Don't, if it's something you want to move forward from, don't poo-poo on it, but don't go through the motions. Just remember, hey, treat it. You loved it at some point. It's just like people, just like relationships. You might not be happy. If you're with somebody and y'all, you get a divorce or you break up or whatever. There's no need to be angry or or like, because at one point, you know how people badmouth people in relationships, and it's like, but at one point you was all in love, you was in love, and nobody in the world could tell you anything bad about the person. So now don't come to me badmouthing the person, So, don't do that. But like I said, summarize, whatever you do when it comes to online marketing, when it comes to affiliate marketing, digital marketing, starting a blog, doing a podcast, or whatever you do, anything in life, jobs, relationships, cooking, whatever you do, you might start off not having a love for it, but you will develop a love, and then the more love you put into something, the more love you will get back from the thing, from whatever, the love you give out, the love you receive, it will come back to you. Okay? And if it doesn't, then you might have to reevaluate. But we're gonna end this on a positive note. The love you give, the love you receive, it'll be a beautiful thing. And the more love you put into something, the more love you put into these projects that you do, the more you will receive back, and you will see the growth, and it will just, and it's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. Trust me. I know. Now, in this podcast, I tell you stories. I give stories. But of course, I always try to tell myself, don't put myself, but how can I not, I don't make up stories. I don't make up these things. A lot of these stories are from my own personal life. So I had to use the word I. So, how some people, they like, well, this guy was always talking about himself. But I can't give it to you from Joe Blow's perspective. I had to give it to you from my perspective. So I just had to let that be known every now and then, because in my own head sometimes I hear me saying, I'm like, hold on, I gotta interject. Of course, if I was talking to somebody else, I wouldn't use I so much. But we're doing a one-man podcast at the moment, so I had to interject and tell you a story. I had to tell you a story about me, and how it could convey to you. So I hope that I'm not gonna explain it too many more times, but I just wanted to let you know that. All right. Now, after this commercial, we will talk about interdependence. All right. So, listen to the commercial, start a podcast with Anchor, and we will be back after these messages. Hello, everybody. Welcome back. How was that commercial for you? Last week it was Thanksgiving week. So last week I'm telling my wife about the podcast. I'm telling my wife, I do this commercial for the Anchor, yada yada yada. And she's like, "Ooh, I want to do a commercial." I said, "Okay, let's get you prepared. Let's print out." So I printed out my wife, the little script they give you to talk about the the Anchor, how to get started with an Anchor podcast. So I give my wife the script. 1 day goes by, 2 days goes by, 3 days goes by. I'm like, I thought we was gonna record the new commercial. The people want to hear from my always spoken about, never heard from wife. And she said, we will get to it. And here we are, ladies and gentlemen. Friday, December the 4th, 2020. And we haven't gotten to anything yet. So I'm going to have to get her to get it together and record so we can have a new commercial. Because I'm sure, and I've listened to it a couple times, you're probably tired of hearing that same old commercial. But anyway, for the last segment today, we are going to talk about interdependence. Now, a book I highly recommend is Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I've listened to that book once, twice. I read it once. It's a very good book. It's a very good book. I highly recommend it, whether you listen to it, whether you read it, or whatever. But in his book, he talks about interdependence. And interdependence, we will look it up together. I got it in my notes. Human life is interdependence, Dr. Stephen Covey says. We can combine our talents and abilities and create something greater together. Interdependent people combine their own efforts with the efforts of others to achieve their greatest success. I believe that's true. It's okay to be independent. But as we talked about yesterday, just little things with like technology. And when you're trying to because eventually, not everybody listening to this podcast, we're all different people. Let's just put that out there, all right? We all know this. Everybody's not going to run a international, 1,000 people business. Some people are going to run small businesses. Some people are going to run a business maybe with one person working there, 2 people working there. Some people are going to run bigger organizations. Some people are not going to run an organization. Some people are going to be maybe like a freelance writer or whatever. But at the end of the day, no matter what you do, no matter what we all do, we have to rely on somebody else. The only people, you ever watch this show? You ever watch a show? It's a show with people in Alaska, and they live out there, in the wild. They live out there in the trees. They live in the remote areas, and they're like, it's nice to be out here, but they still have other people come help them out, help them build houses, help them build or whatever. Even the most remote people still rely on others to help them out do things. And so that's not different than me and you and the entire human race. So I just had to say that. So a lot of and when I say interdependent doesn't mean you use people. It doesn't mean you just rely on people all day. It's you helping somebody helping you working together to get the thing that you want done. It's just like for my website, for my whatever, to get really where I want it to go, I'm going to need help when it comes to search engine optimization. I'm going to need help when it comes to designing websites. I'm going to need help when it comes to creating, creating a ebook. I'm going to need help. I am going to be dependent on somebody. You understand? I can't do all that alone. I remember in the beginning stages, I was like, I'm going to learn this, I'm going to learn that. That is not going to happen. And I've come to the faster you come to the realization that you can't do everything efficiently, I'm going to say that. You might be able to do everything, but you won't do it efficiently. And if you want things done efficiently, if you want things done correct, if you want to get things down the road faster, then the more you just come to realization, okay, not a crutch. Let's be clear. I'm not saying you have to be a crutch. These people, you don't have to, they're not a crutch, but you have to be interdependent. You can help them, they can help you. We all have to learn interdependence. And the more you learn that, the better off you will be. You know how people, it's like when the Great Depression came, and then FDR became president, and FDR started all these programs trying to help people get on their feet. Some people, the government programs are designed to help you get on your feet, get stable, get a job, get some income, and then get off those programs. That's what those programs are for. But the government, some people have become dependent on the government, and it goes from one generation to the next generation to the next generation. So you have generations and generations of people relying on the government, waiting on the government to hand them funds. That's not good. And at some point, you always wish that somebody in their family maybe will break the cycle of dependence on the government, because you don't want to depend on the government. And I'm pretty sure the government doesn't want you dependent on them. That is a example of dependence. You don't want to be dependent. Or it's like the person who, it's like men. When if a man sits there and tells you, "Oh, I can't cook. I depend on my wife, or I depend on somebody, my mom or somebody." You want to learn how to make 1 meal, 2 meals, 3 meals. You want to learn. I'm not saying you have to become Gordon Ramsay, but if you want to live, if you want to be a normal human being, you should learn how to make one dish. Because what if the person you depend on breaks an arm, breaks a leg, and they can't cook? What are you gonna do? So don't be dependent. As we said 2 minutes ago, you don't want to be dependent. You don't have to be the greatest at everything, but come on, have one dish. We just talked about in the last segment. My wife is an excellent chef. I can't make 90% of the things she makes. I couldn't even try it. But I tell you what, when she goes out of town, I don't have to sit there and buy takeout all the time. I can make chili. I can make beef stew, as I told you. I can make a couple more things. I can get by, So being dependent on somebody is not where you want to be. I mean full time, 100% dependent. I don't mean, we're talking about dependence right now. And of course, you don't want to be Joe Blow, super independent. I don't need nothing for nobody. You don't want to have that attitude. That attitude is the same as being dependent on somebody. Always trying to be, Billy Bad Jack, I don't need this, I don't need that, I don't need people, blah, 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 blah. We all need somebody. I mean, come on. We all need somebody. It's okay. It's perfectly fine to admit to yourself that, hey, I need help. I need somebody. Now, we all know when we're younger, sometimes we take on that attitude of, I don't need anybody, I don't need nothing, I don't need diddly squat. But you get older, you mature, you learn, hey, I'm nice, I need them, they need me. Let's be interdependent. And the faster you learn that in business, the better off you will be. Took me a little while. Me, myself, took me a little while to learn, because at first I was like, I'm going to do it all myself. I'm going to do everything. But that is foolish thinking. That is not smart at all. You want to get a nice balance. You want to get a nice mix. And it's okay if you're not great at everything. It's okay not to be the Michael Jordan of everything in your life. It's okay if you're not the greatest. All right? I'm waving my magic wand right now. You hear that? I'm waving my magic wand. And I'm going to deem you not the greatest at everything you ever tried. And then, so right now, close your eyes, and we're going to say it's okay that you're not the greatest at everything. Abracadabra, hocus pocus. This Johnny is not the greatest at everything they do. Poof! There you go. It's okay. It's all right. Once you accept that, take a deep breath. It's okay. Whatever you're great at, though, do it tenfold, okay? And whatever you're not great at, figure that out. Let somebody else do it. I mean, keep an eye on them, make sure they're doing it up to your standards. Of course, I'm not saying be slack on that, but let somebody do it. If you're in a group, you're in a business, you work with somebody, if somebody's good at this and you're good at that, then interdependence, ladies and gentlemen. And once again, I highly recommend that book. It's a very good book. A very good book to listen to if you're driving down the highway. It's a good book to read. I highly recommend that book. It helped me out. It'll help you out. All right. With that being said, that's it, ladies and gentlemen. That's it for the show. I hope you enjoyed this hard-hitting podcast. We will be back again tomorrow with another great episode of the Affiliate Party Podcast. I'm just kidding, okay? We'll be back again tomorrow with another episode of the podcast Online Marketing Moves. My name is Tony Rizzano. Enjoy you. Oh yeah, just because it's the weekend, don't think you don't have to listen to this podcast, okay? So we'll be back tomorrow with another hard-hitting episode. Enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy your weekend. My name is Tony Rizzano. And as always, everybody, peace.